Welcome. My name is Angela Truth, and today we're going to be talking about the Bundy Ranch, Cliven Bundy, a statement he made not too long ago that was definitely dated. What are ramifications of this? Could this really unhinge the movement for state rights, for citizens' rights, versus the federal government's stolen-like tendencies to overthrow people from their own property by claiming eminent domain and other things. Their dirty hands. Preferably they try to get the property dirt cheap or free. So we're going to talk about this. Now, my last show, which was on Ukraine invading Russia, I think it is possible. I didn't realize till very late that there was tons of people, or they were really talking quite a bit in my chat room. Like, are you nuts? No, I'm not nuts. No, I'm really not. I had kind of joked about that. I guess it was about a month and a half ago. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. It's okay. But tensions are so high over there. And some of the troops, some of the militants that had been asked to leave have not left. And there's 5 pro-Russian soldiers, renegades, whatever label you want to put on them. They are no longer in this world. They were shot and killed. So I think that possibly Ukraine will go into Crimea, which used to be the Ukraine, but is now officially Russia. And I think it's possible that Ukraine's going to, quote unquote, invade Russia. It is possible. You cannot doubt that it is possible. Probable, I don't know. But, the Putin's trying to negotiate the Geneva. I don't know. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Well, to me, crazy is what's been happening on the Bundy Ranch. I kind of rolled my eyes at first, and I thought, really? Is this what we're going to talk about? The underground news, the alternative news. Isn't it? I think it's ghastly that we had to come to the point that we talk about the alternative news. Like, do we really want to get on the alternative news? Because you'll be put on a list. And that's a fact, Jack. If you're a podcaster and you're thinking about going the alternative, if you want to go to legitimate, you may not ever be able to. Unless you're like Alex Jones. I think he started on alternative news and then got syndicated. It all comes down to being likable and approachable. Are you approachable? Are you so far out there that you really piss people off and your name happens to be Rush? I don't know. Rush Limbaugh is what I'm talking about. I think of these things. And, I'm with the safe vaccines, that type of alternate media. And it kind of casts me in a bad light because, let's be honest, some of my counterparts, they are a little bit nuts. Right now, the big thing is oils. I probably should talk about that on Autism Talks Radio. And I'll probably get a lot of friends pissed off, and they'll defriend me on Facebook. Oh, my God. I am so sorry. There's pollen in this world. I didn't know if you realize there's pollen. It has a tendency to make my throat swell and choke, and used to be hideous, and I'm allergic to elm trees. Are you allergic to anything? Oh my goodness. If you don't mind, I need a sip of... There's going to be dead air for a minute. Would you believe I've met my limit for Zyrtec D? Like some meth head is able to extract something to make meth from Zyrtec D. So I had to make sure my girls have Zyrtec D. So I'm only allowed so much per month to buy. And what I would give for a Zyrtec D right now. Okay. That being said, let's talk about Cliven Bundy and the Bundy Ranch and the BLM. I want you to listen to his whole statement. I was waiting for people to show up. If you're there, it would be nice to know if you're there. I guess I can replay this. It's a short one. It's like 90 seconds. Now, please remember, Cliven Bundy's in his 70s. He's a rancher. This is all he's ever known, the rural life. So I do not... I think because he lives in a different world as far as the way they speak, he comes across as ill-educated, and I mean, but he's a man of the land. You know, I grew up with aunts and uncles that were farmers, and all different types of farmers, and I don't know, they do sometimes live in a bubble of their own, but he is of an older generation, so I know it sounds like I'm making excuses for him. But honestly, you know, what gave you the right to be so freaking oversensitive? I mean, honestly, you're so oversensitive about everything. You know, someone says that, I can't believe you would say that. I'm a female. I mean, fuck. I mean, what happened to just being who we are? I don't think he has any ill intent. I want you to listen. I want you to ask yourself, did he really mean to demean these people in his mind? Do you think the intent of his words were to demean a whole culture? You know, what I heard was frustration that they should be able to fend for themselves, but the government makes it so that they're not able to. You know, and I think that's partially true. Keep them dependent on you. Make sure they need you so they'll vote for you. I think that's true. Okay, so let's listen to his 90-second statement, and then we can discuss it.
The Negro. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? They just transferred it, that's all. Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that
Clive.
sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
And that was Cliven Bundy. Now, I mean, understanding he's not going to get the Best Speaker of the Year award. He's not. I'm not going to try to explain this. I think it's dated. I think he has a poor understanding of what life is like in the city. You know, because he's on a ranch. There's always something to do on a ranch that has to be done. You know, my friend has one of the largest ranches in Oklahoma. You know, it's like they raise Angus beef, and you know, there's always something. Those girls of hers get up at like 3:30 in the morning. You know, early to bed, early to rise. I mean, it's the country life for them, and that in and of itself is hysterical to me because she's such a girly girl. I mean, designers. And she went from LA, you know, all these designers, and getting ready to take her bar exam, to moving back to Oklahoma, getting married to a rancher, and she had cows on her front porch. A little bit of culture shock. So that type of person, and the city life in Vegas, I think, is a lot different from ranch life. Now, I don't like what he said. Let me get that right. But I'm not going to get my feathers all ruffled up just because he said a dated statement. You know, some people wonder if, and I do not agree with this. Actually, I'm not even going to say what some people wonder because I find it so, it's nothing that would enter my mind that someone that has darker skin than mine would do better under a slave ownership. I can't even wrap my mind around that. You know, but what he thinks, as so deplorable, where he sees kids doing nothing as he's driving past them, has no idea what their family life is like. None. He's just judging. Because at least the family's together. Last time I thought, if your family's together, you're spending time with your family. You're watching the kids play and getting lightning bugs and putting them in a jar. The good things. The good things. So, was that a racist statement? I think it was a dated statement. I don't think his intent in the statement, having listened to it, was meant to pull people down, but rather frustrated at the government that creates a system where it's hard for an individual to get out of that system. Like, for instance, I'm on disability. If I go back to work, and sometimes I think I can work, not all the time, mind you, because I've been in a coma before. I had to be on a lot of medications. I worry about insurance. Will I be able to get insurance for my kids? I've been out of the workforce for so long. I've tried this writing thing. So far, it's not working, but I really am enjoying it. I have some scripts I have written that I think might have a future. I don't know. But at least I'm trying to get out of the rut I'm in. And that's something I can do from home is writing. That's something I can do from home. When I get out, like I got out earlier and I was hurting so badly by the time I got home, I don't think there was a way I could work 9 to 5. I used to work at an insurance company. I was on the board of directors. I was the secretary. On the stock, you'll see president and the secretary, on the board. My name was on the stock. That was bizarre to me. And I was all of 23, 24. But I had a very sharp mind, and I knew how to link people together. I knew the right people. And it got me the right place. But, some businesses are really dirty, and I can't speak more there without possibly getting myself in trouble. But some of the companies went into receivership, so it is what it is. Through no fault of my own, by the way. It was already headed that way by the time I got there. Maybe you're not understanding what receivership is, but look it up. Just look it up. So we're looking at Calvin Bundy and a statement he made that they don't know how to pick cotton. I think he was trying to say they don't know a trade. Maybe that's what he meant. But he lives on a ranch and they raise different crops. And in particular, their biggest crop is cattle. And cattle is a crop. That's what it's looked at because it's used for food, used for consumption. So I'm just kind of curious of what you think that is. And, while we're talking about Calvin Bundy and his statement on race, I really do think that the new form of abuse is being oversensitive. Just look at CNN. They get so easily offended, and then they have to talk about it for 3 weeks. Come on. Do you talk about pulling a Band-Aid off for more than 10 minutes, if it's a child? I used to like to watch CNN. I never did like Fox. Hated Fox. Absolutely hated Fox. But CNN, to me, it just seems like they have all these children talking. And I'm like, really? Is this the best you can get? What about good old-fashioned news with commentary and not a lot of emotional sentiment? I think the news has gotten far too emotional. There are times when a person becomes shocked and overwhelmed on the news, say when a president has died or been murdered, something like that. A national disaster, or a terrorism attack like the Twin Towers. I understood that the people were emotional. But like the Casey Anthony case, come on. They got too emotionally involved in the case, the reporters I'm talking about. And I think the same is true for the Bundy case. People have gotten really emotionally involved. They got people there on the grounds, doing their reports, their video reports, and writers. And, they're there for state rights, I think. He's just a vehicle for state rights. And we need to recognize that. Now, tomorrow I will probably not be on unless I decide to do a late night show. my sister-in-law, her service is tomorrow in the morning. And I have a homeschool convention to do this weekend, so I got to do some homeschool podcasts really soon. I might be able to do it live from the homeschool convention. I'm going to see if I'm going to be able to do that or not. I'm looking forward to that. So I think that would be really good. Now, I often talk about a person by the name of Colin Flattery. Colin Flattery is a writer. He's a journalist. He's vetted. And he's recently wrote a book. By recent, like in the last 3 years. It's called White Girl Bleed a Lot. So I'm going to use this in conjunction with Cliven Bundy's predicament. Because if he was a black person talking about white people, no one would be upset. If you just changed the color of his skin and maybe changed the word to white, no one would have gave a rat's ass. They never would. Honestly. Like I said, it's a mantra. The new form of abuse is being oversensitive. When a woman or a man, as the case may be, uses being oversensitive to bully you into doing something or not doing something that is of your own volition, not hurting anybody, I call that abuse. I out and out call that abuse, because that's what it is, people. That is what it is. So Colin Flattery talks about the violence perpetrated from the blacks, the African American population on the white, and how it's not being reported. Now, I hope to interview him when I finally get that mixer that I've been talking about for 2 months. And just seems like there's stuff like my sister-in-law fell ill, and my uncle died, and I don't know, it's just been a really busy time in my life. And it's spring. We're doing a leaf collection, my kids. So, life happens. So this is about White Girl Bleed a Lot, and he'll explain the topic, and I'll clear up other things that he had not said there. But he's a really good person to interview. If you're listening to me and you're a podcaster, he's always welcoming interviews. So he's a very approachable person with a valid topic. This is something that's happening in Europe and the UK, Ireland. And here in the States, it's a rise of racial violence against white people, Caucasian people. And color me whatever you want to. The point is, it is happening. And somebody can stand at... I'll just let him talk, all right? We'll listen to what he has to say.
Being the author of White Girl Bleed a Lot, I get a lot of different kind of reactions to the book. A lot of fans think I'm supposed to be a leader of some kind of movement. A lot of fans think I'm supposed to be this or that. All I am is a guy standing on the corner watching a car crash and wondering why everybody else on the corner is trying to convince me there's no car crash. White Girl Bleed a Lot is about an epidemic of racial violence in more than 100 cities, more than 500 examples, many documented on video, and how the press and public officials ignore it, condone it, excuse it, sometimes even lie about it. This black mob violence happens in the big cities along the East Coast where you might expect it: Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, New York, Miami. But it also happens in smaller towns: Peoria, Springfield, Greensboro. It also happens in places where it's very nasty, but you might not expect it there if you've never been there. Indianapolis, Milwaukee, Seattle, Portland. It's everywhere over the entire country. Everybody's playing from the same playbook. Ignore it, hope it goes away, explain it away, and that's not working. That's why I wrote White Girl Bleed a Lot, because nobody was talking about it. The internet is full of thousands of videos of black mob violence, so we don't have to depend on daily newspapers anymore to figure out what is really happening. But the problem when we wrote a book is, how do I get these videos into a paperback book? Here's how the new edition solves that problem. I think for the first time, really, this book is going to have more than 100, they call them QR codes. Just use your smartphone, scan the code. All of a sudden, the video that I'm talking about in the book as an example of black mob violence, that video will show up right here on your smartphone. So we don't have to depend upon the local daily papers anymore to misreport this violence. We get it straight and raw.
And that was Colin Flattery. Colin Flattery is spelled Flaherty. If you're interested in interviewing him, contact him on Facebook or Twitter. He's on Twitter a lot. I wonder what his thoughts are on the Bundy Ranch, or even Cliven Bundy's statement that he made recently. I wonder what he thinks. You know, because it's true, racial violence is on the rise. I mean, that is an absolute fact. You can't deny it. And sometimes I wonder, these young people that happen to be African American, you know, they're so proud of this violence. They brag about it on YouTube. And to me, that's an idiot move. Why would you perform an act of violence on someone and then put it on YouTube? I mean, if I'm going to rob a bank, I'm not going to put the video of it on YouTube. Look what we did. I mean, idiot. You know, and just, wow. Wow. Well, listen, I got to go. I have to fix my youngest daughter's hair for tomorrow. Curlers. So we sleep in curlers sometimes. So we're going to do that, and I'll be back on air maybe a little bit later just to relax and throw back. And if you have any comments, please let me know. I think Colin Flattery is a wonderful person to interview, and I think he would have a lot of insight on the Bundy Ranch, the state rights, those types of issues, I should say. And I try to present people with people that I know that are very easy to interview, or that I've spoken with personally. I'm just not set up for the interview on Spreaker as of yet. So, but I look forward to the day where I can do interviews again. I love doing interviewing, and I like to help my fellow podcasters. I honestly do. So let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, it was cringeworthy, the Cliven Bundy statement. I mean, I don't know about you. I was cringing like, oh, no, don't say that. Don't vomit. You know, word vomit was everywhere. I think he now knows what word vomit is, and he just wasn't media suave. You know, what you say in front of people and what you keep private. You know, I don't think he sees anything wrong, but it was just his illustration of what he thought was wrong with the federal government, you know, imprisoning people into a situation where, you know, like I'm on disability. I feel imprisoned in it. I really do. I sound fine right now. I mean, I have a lot of medical problems, but, you know, I would really like to go back to work. But I honestly stand to lose so much if I do. You know, I don't know. It may only last for a week or two, and then I'll probably find myself back in the hospital. And that's no fun. But, I don't know. It's difficult, so I've tried to find other ways of trying to make a living, so I can understand what he's talking about, how it imprisons people. Because I personally have you know, experienced that. You know, it's a horrible situation. I wouldn't wish this on maybe a few people. I'm sorry. I have this woman that's being so freaking catty. My sister-in-law, you know, she passed away early Tuesday morning. And she had the nerve on one of my shows to put a comment that I had put a curse on my sister-in-law to die. I mean, who does that? She's a podcaster on here, and frankly, she deserves no props to say her name. No props, no innuendos. She's lower than dirt. I mean, that right there really showed her true colors. It really did. You know, my family's in mourning, and I mean, it was comment after comment after comment. You know, just a hateful bitch. So, you know, just remember, when someone shows you who you are, you can go look at the comments. You know, believe them. And she removed one of the comments, just one, but she left the other two. They were very accusatory, and honestly, you're not worth my time. You're not worth my time, and everyone is seeing it now. Everyone. So hopefully I will no longer have problems with this person, because the more she dishes out, you know, all these lies and accusations and just mean-spiritedness, you know, the ugliness, the more it shows to Spreaker, you know, how she handles herself. And it just gives me more ammunition. I'm even to the point where maybe I will go ahead and go through some things. And just getting her served with papers will be a problem. If any of you are in the Dallas area, please let me know. So maybe I can get some help in getting her served. So it's a possibility. Let me know. Because I want this to be over. And my late sister-in-law does not deserve such disgrace at all whatsoever. Shame on you. All right. Well, I'll talk with you later. Oh, I see some people in the chat room. Oh my gosh. It's Stabby McHugs. Hey, Stabby. Well, if you listen to the show in the very beginning, I played Cliven Bundy's statement that everybody's saying is racist, and it is a little bit shocking. It is a little bit shocking, and it's very dated, but this is a man in his 70s who lived out in the boonies, the country, in a ranch. You know, he's not going to have the normal urban statement, and he's just not media suave. And, you know, I went into my rant of how I think the worst form of abuse now is being oversensitive. Yeah. So, well, I understand their argument. They want to pay it to Clark County, to the state. And that's who actually has the grazing lands, is the state. All the other people paid Clark County. But BLM wants them to pay it to federal lands with an agreement that they can add on fees at any time they want. I mean, it's like giving them an open check for him to pay whatever they think he should pay. You know, without, you know, the set amount, you know, for grazing lands. And I think that's wrong. You know, just let him pay the money and let them go on. But no, they want the land. That's what it comes down to, eminent domain. And they're going to get it one way or the other. No, the government has not done the right thing. They are shooting his cattle from helicopters, and there's evidence of that. There's video of that. You know, it's hellacious. I don't know. And this could be coming to a state near you. That's my thoughts on it. So... But I had people in my chat room on the last show, and I didn't realize it. And I was just talking about Ukraine and how I thought it might invade Russia. I mean, it's very possible. You're probably going to laugh at me. You're laughing, aren't you? Okay. But it is very possible because they want Crimea back. And that's where that port is that they wanted, that Russia wanted. So tensions are high on the Ukraine border. There's tens of thousands of Russian troops on the border still doing military exercises. And there's 5 pro-Russian, like militia, renegade, or what label you want to put on them, that were shot earlier today. The tensions are getting really incredibly bad. You know, there's Chuck Hagel that is talking about it. The president condemned Moscow earlier when he was in Japan today. And wow, he travels a lot, you know? Yeah. And there's just so much going on. And I've been trying to focus on that rather than the service tomorrow. But I got to do my daughter's hair and get her off to bed, so... I'll be back on, though. Maybe we can chat then. So, all right. I'll talk with you later. Bye.